Good evening. It is Thursday, May 11th, 7 p.m. This is our regularly scheduled council meeting, first meeting of the month. I'd like to call a meeting to order, and we will start with the opening prayer and pledge. This evening we have Reverend Phil Anderson from the Bethel Church to lead us.
Let's pray. Lord, thank you. Our leaders are something that are a tremendous gift and a blessing to us. And Lord, we pray for your direction and for your wisdom for every one of them tonight. We pray that you would guide them. We also pray for our city, Lord, that you would keep your hand of protection and your guidance upon us. We thank you for the opportunity to live at this time to glorify you. So Jesus, be with this meeting, we ask you, and it's in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Please remain standing. And this evening for the pledge, we have Miss Claire Powell, fifth grade student at Tallmadge Elementary.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you both. She took a bow. Item 3, roll call. Mrs. Burton.
Becky Allman.
Here.
Jonathan Bolles.
Here.
Adam Bozick.
Here.
Mary Gutman.
Here.
Carol Kilway.
Here.
Dennis Lowry.
Here.
Craig Ciesick.
Here.
All right, everyone is here this evening. Item 4, correcting and adopting the previous meeting minutes of April 27th, 2023. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Mrs.
Second.
Kilway, second by Mr. Bolles. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none. Mrs. Burton?
Jonathan Bolles.
Yes.
Adam Bozick.
Yes.
Mary Gutman.
Yes.
Carol Kilway.
Yes.
Dennis Lowry.
Yes.
Craig Ciesick.
Yes.
Becky Allman.
Yes.
Thank you. Minutes are adopted, 7-0. Financial reports, item 5. We have transfers from the general fund to fire and EMS fund in the amount of $175,000, to general infrastructure in the amount of $30,000, to bond retirement in the amount of $75,000, and to the police pension in the amount of $75,000. Transfer from safety services income tax fund to bond retirement in the amount of $105,280. Transfer from Tallmadge Reserve incentive district TIF to bond retirement in the amount of $12,375 to council on 4/28/23. Appropriation report, fund report, and revenue report for the period ending 4/30/23 to council on 5/5/23. April financial reports to council on 5/5/23. Tallmadge Recreation Center profit and loss report for the period ending 4/30/23 to council on 5/5/23. Income tax comparisons for the period ending 4/30/23 to council on 5/5/23. Consolidated investment portfolio for the period ending 4/30/23 to council on 5/5/23. Income tax by source report for the month of April to council on 5/5/23. And revenue comparisons for major funds for the period ending 4/30/23 to council on 5/5/23. Could I have a motion to those reports as provided to us?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Ciesick, Mrs. Kilway, any discussion on that? Mrs. Burton?
Adam Bozick.
Yes.
Mary Gutman.
Yes.
Carol Kilway.
Yes.
Dennis Lowry.
Yes.
Craig Ciesick.
Yes.
Becky Allman.
Yes.
Jonathan Bolles.
Yes.
Thank you. Financial reports are accepted. Item 6, public hearings. We have none this evening. Item 7, community input. This is the time on our agenda that if anyone in the audience would like to speak to council, you can do so at this time. Is there anyone that would like to take advantage of that this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 8. We are going to move the agenda addition here just to be part of the ordinance.
Yes.
under our reports. With that, we'll move to item 9, reports of administrative officers, and we'll start with the mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Start off with Senior Give Back Day. The graduating seniors of Tallmadge High School met on Wednesday and did a lot of cleanup throughout the parks, painted some stuff down at the McBurleson Field, worked in the cemetery, cleaning all the headstones, and also did some work out at the Macapool area, so in the other parks. So thanks to the seniors going out. Senior Parade, which is tomorrow. They will be parading starting from the high school, going down East Avenue to the middle school, and then around back to the circle, not hitting the circle, but going back out, and that ending up back at the high school, where I think they're having a bonfire up there tomorrow night. So congratulations to the outgoing senior class. Macapool, we did fill the pool. Everything's moving along pretty well at the pool. Had some pump issues. Those were all corrected. And so hats off to Jessica and her team on that. Also, let me, if I can get to this, if I can find my mouse. Let's talk about Fire Station 2. That is the old fire station site, and you can see the detention pond there. They're moving along very well. The concrete folks will be there tomorrow to start laying out the curbs for inside the parking lot, and so that is moving along extremely well. With that, and we do have guests here for economic development. Insight, our contractor, who is working with us for the economic development. And since it's mayor/economic development, I will go ahead and introduce Sean and then Katie to come up to the microphone, introduce themselves, and then we have a little bit of PowerPoint to show.
Well, thank you, Mayor, and thanks for having us here today. Nice to meet everyone. We're really excited to join the team of the city and help serve in this role and helping to build a strategy around economic development. And there's plenty to work with here in the city of town, which we're excited about that opportunity. A little bit about myself. I'm Sean Joyce. I'm the president of Insight Advisory Group. Katie Breck has newly joined our team as the director of economic development. Our group focuses on economic development strategy. We work with municipalities to help them assess what they have to work with on economic development, help them build incentives and strategies around that, help them work on business retention, so making sure there's a good pulse on what their needs of their business community is in their community, as well as help kind of inventory what they have to work with. So development sites, for instance, possible expansion within their business groups, and also help maybe attract businesses into the area. So we have partnerships with groups like Team NEO, Jobs Ohio, Department of Development, that are really working together in collaboration with groups like our own to help really expand the footprint of economic development in the whole state. You've heard a lot of stories about mega projects, and those are all great things like Intel and so forth, but there's really a lot of work to do within cities like Tallmadge that have a lot of potential, have sites that are ready or close to ready to expand, especially coming back and trying to recover from the pandemic, right? Where there's a lot of pullback of businesses with a lot of losses. And of course, all this to the benefit of the community itself, the population living in the city, everything we hopefully can help bring or improve or expand upon will just add to the quality of life of the citizens and the population, which I think is really the end goal. And bringing jobs in and helping bringing those revenues and resources to do the things that the city wants to do. So we're really excited about the opportunity. Insight Advisory Group, do a little bit of background. We're part of Welty, if you've heard of Welty Building. We actually have several companies under the Welty umbrella, which gives us actually access to a lot of resources and expertise, especially when it comes to any types of projects that might come forward here in the city. So we have access to our development group, which does major projects all over the state. You might have heard of us. We're heard of them doing the work in downtown Cleveland, for instance. We're building the new skyscraper for Sherwin-Williams. And part of that work, we brought in incentives into that job for Sherwin-Williams, actually about $250 million to help cover part of that $1.2 billion project. So we also work with businesses to bring incentives into their projects and help them cover the cost to do that. So if that's a limitation for a company that might want to come into Tallmadge, or a company that might want to expand and looking for funding and help, we have resources to make that happen. You've probably heard a lot about the state budget, for instance. It's a pretty exciting time for development. There's going to be, well, depending what the Senate does with it, but right now there's about $3.5 billion focused on economic development across the state, which will be up for grabs. And so we'll, our part of that is helping find projects, find opportunities for the city of Tallmadge to actually benefit from some of those dollars. So it's a great time to be strategic. It's a great time to kind of put your hand up, say, hey, we got a lot to do here, and we're going to help market those opportunities and really help kind of get everything going here. So I'm going to bring Katie up to talk a little bit about the rest of what we do and how we approach things, and then I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Sean. Good evening, everyone. I'm Katie Breck, Director of Economic Development from Insight, and I'm so excited to be working with the City of Tallmadge. Most recently, I served under the administration of Mayor Horgan, working and co-leading the Office of Integrated Development for the City of Akron. And I've spent the last 10 years working in economic development. I've worked in municipal, county, and federal government, and I'm so thrilled to be working for the City of Tallmadge. So really what I've been doing since I've started here about 3 weeks ago is really just finding ways to embed myself into the business ecosystem here in the city and making sure that, folks know that I'm here as a resource to be a liaison not only between the mayor's office and our businesses, but also with Team NEO, the Greater Akron Chamber, and other economic development groups. So far, the way that we have been conducting our engagement is I've been coming every other week and meeting with the mayor and his team. I have started to attend the local Chamber of Commerce luncheons, and most recently went to the women's luncheon yesterday, and just anytime I see that something's happening in the city of Tallmadge, I make sure that I'm there. Like last weekend, Seven Grains Natural Market had an event, so I made sure to go and introduce myself and just want to make sure that I'm out there for any opportunity that we can hopefully steer here towards this year in 2023 for the city. So I'm really looking forward to this opportunity, and thank you all so much for allowing me time to speak tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from any council? Hearing none, end of report.
Any questions for the mayor? All righty, let's move on. Director of Administration, Director of Safety. Do you have a report, Mayor? Either just written report?
He did a written
So
report.
we all received an email. Any questions that you want to ask on the floor regarding that? Mr. Bosey?
Thank you. I just had a quick follow-up on the Ritchie Shelter House. Did we finalize the camera installation?
We have not.
We have not. Okay. Is that going to be taken care of this fiscal year?
I'll present it in the budget for 2024 budget, so it will be finalized coming forward with it.
And then I know we had asked a question in the last meeting about the lockdown debrief, and I saw that Director of Safety Cooper had made a comment in there about access to the public records being sensitive information and things like that. Is that something that we can internally post within
He
our
asked
shared
each
drive?
one of you to come to his office, schedule a meeting, and he will gladly go over all that with you.
Okay. Is that something, though, that can be put within our shared drive?
I would have to confer with the law. There is some sensitive items in there, strategic items.
Okay. All right. And that concludes my questions for you, sir.
Thank you. Anything else? All right, let's move to Director of Public Service, Mr. Rohr.
Good evening. At the last meeting, Councilman Bozick asked about the annual cost for sidewalks, and we roughly spend about $100,000 a year on sidewalks. That's what we do. Also, 89 East Howell Road. Also, 89 East Howell Road. The bid is out for the demo, so we should be getting the bid opening is in early June. I don't know the date, but it's out now. For the last month, we had 177 total permits issued in the zoning, 122 of which were street openings. Code violations, 33 open violations, 12 of which are property disrepair. 4 total burials, 1 was full and 3 cremains, and 22 monument foundations was completed. Just a reminder about Memorial Day, Monday, May 29th at 10 a.m. The guest speaker this year is State Rep Steve Demetrio, and make sure you bring your chair, right? Should be a good event. Next slide, Park and Rec. The membership there is 7,262. That was a 7% increase from last year. The visits at the rec center, 16,991. That's a 1% increase from last year. Silver Sneakers has a coffee talk May 18th. Maca sneak peek May 26th, so everybody that's a member can get in that day to get into the pool. Summer camp starts June 5th. Community center is open for business. They're doing touch-ups, so we do not have a final number yet to bring for the change orders. They're still in there doing work, and it's hit and miss because now we're running that space out on a day-to-day basis. So the shelters are open for business and being rented. Pickleball tennis court got repaved at Lions. You can see to the right the picture of the guys paving. That was that week in April that we had that 80-degree stretch. Maca pool memberships, you can see it's 1,734. We only have 200 more to go. And keep in mind, Tuesdays this year at Maca pool are for members only. And it just so happens July 4th is a Tuesday, so it'll be a members only day. As the mayor has mentioned, the pool has been filled, and we're still in search of 5 to 6 lifeguards to have everything open. And when I say everything open, just so we're clear, we can open the pool, but maybe we don't have the slides open on those days if we don't have enough lifeguards. And maybe the slides only open up during safety breaks. So just so you guys know what I mean, so we have everything open. Next week, on Monday, May 15th, the traffic pavement marking begins. It's in the evening hours between 7 p.m. and 5 a.m. And keep in mind, in the Ohio Revised Code, it is illegal to drive across the freshly applied paint that's on the ground, and they will not have flaggers and they will not have signage. It's a rolling operation, so they do not have to have either one of them. And why would they? Because if they flagged you through the paint, they'd be responsible for that. So they will not have those. But we went to the evening hours to try to help with some of the issues with people driving through the paint, and I think the complaints were much less last year. Street department, you can see 14 tons of street debris was removed by sweeping. 1,800 linear feet of ditching was done. 3 culverts were jetted. 5 culverts were replaced. 14 catch basins were repaired. Most of which were down on Garwood, West Garwood, and that's getting ready for the paving program. 2 crossover replacements on Beechwood and Forest View were done, also getting ready. And then you can see the picture there of the crossover there, Monroe and Beechwood. That's also getting ready for the paving program. And monthly training was Ohio Ethics Commission. The utility department, 0 water breaks, 0 backups. 4,480 linear feet of sanitary sewer lines were jetted and cleaned. The televising that occurred last month for all the streets that are getting paved helped out. Beechwood sanitary sewer was collapsing, and that's why we do that. That way we don't pave a street and have to go in and repair it. So, I mean, water lines do break, but these things we can find out by cammering, so we try to do, as well as our storm pipes, we try to be proactive and camera any streets we're paving, make sure that job's getting done. We talked about last time the North Monroe sidewalk, ARPA funds. If you could switch, Dave, to the next one. The green areas are the sidewalks that are being added. The red areas are the ones that are there. Switch one more time. So we're going to cross at Barnes over. That's where the current flashing lights are at. We're going to have the flashing beacon that's similar to Howe being added there, or more. We do have a problem, though. At the 500 block on North Monroe, we have a grade issue. It deals with 3 residents. We're trying to figure it out. It definitely can be done. Some of those trees are probably going to have to be removed, and we'll probably end up putting a small retaining wall along the base of that grade there to get the sidewalk in there. So we might do as much of the sidewalk without being, because we've got to get this engineered now at that location. And you can also see there's some storm drains in that area too, so. And that's it for my report, unless there's any questions.
Thank you. Anything from Mrs. Kilby?
I just had a quick question. What type of work is going on it would be the west end of Commerce? There's a big plate in the road.
Same thing. The Commerce is getting paved. The sanitary sewer at that location was failing. So
Okay.
we replaced that section before we paved it.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Bozick?
Thank you. And again, thank you for the information about the sidewalk expenditures for average for a year. That's definitely helpful information to have, especially going into next year's financial planning meetings. The only other request that I would have is on the information we get from the rec center, can we have a number of unique visitors, not just total visits or total members, because I think the total member number is not a true accurate picture of what we technically have. It would be more informational to have a unique visitor number. And then my only other question would be, it was brought to my attention that there is a deer crossing sign on Northwest near the new facility by Crossing Circle, and it might be better to change that to a duck or geese crossing sign because they tend to cross the road there more often than deer do. So that might be something to look at. So, thank you.
Well, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Rohr? Thank you. Let's move on to Director of Finance. Mrs. Gilbride.
Good evening. I did submit my written report. Our income taxes are still lagging a little bit behind last year, but appearing to be in line with the estimates that I put out. Major lagging number is net profits, and I'm not surprised. I was waiting for that one to kind of fall off. We had record increases in that area. And so other than that, I just wanted to point that out. I am getting some, this month in May, I have received several notifications from Rita about large refund requests also. So we are also seeing some large refunds, both for net profit returns and for withholdings for people working away from their work location and working from home. So I'll continue to monitor and keep everybody up to date. But other than that, if anybody has any specific questions about my reports, I'll be glad to answer them.
I have a question. Our investment portfolio, have you considered looking at reinvesting with the interest rates going up, and from what I read today, potentially being like at the top of the tier for interest rates?
So the majority of our funds are right now actually in money market accounts that are earning the most. I am starting to make some strategic decisions about taking some of my CDs out a little further to kind of hedge in anticipation that possibly 2 to 3 years from now, we're probably going to see a reduction. So we might want to grab some of the longer term stuff and take advantage of those. So a couple years from now, we're not completely flipped.
Yeah.
I'm also have the yield curve is a little weird right now. It's actually inverted. So once you go out past about 2 years, the interest rates actually start to drop.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm monitoring that every day. I actually just added a CD with 2 years and 1 year in this last round of my investments to
Okay.
kind of grab some of
So I
that.
remember we had used a gentleman out of Columbus to help us with some of those investments.
He's actually out of
previously.
Cincinnati, and he still holds, if you look at the investment report, there is identified as Red Tree Investment, and that's our account with him.
Okay.
And then I have broken out the different types of securities that he has our funds in.
Okay.
And actually, just this past month, we were able to kind of flip some of that stuff around to bring our yield up.
Great, thank you.
Good. Anything else? Thank you, Mrs. Gilbride. Let's move to Director of Law, Mrs. Rabel.
Great, thank you. I just want to thank everyone who was able to attend the Ohio Ethics training. Hopefully, you all got to enjoyed that. It's not necessarily the most exciting topic, but I thought the speaker did an excellent job, and I appreciate all the positive feedback. If you did not have an opportunity to do that, if you can please, there was a link in your email when I originally sent that out. If you need it again, I'd be happy to send it to you, but do an online session. We're trying to get 100% compliance with everybody internally, and so if you don't, you'll be hearing from me soon. So save me the trouble if you don't mind. And again, I appreciate everyone who was able to attend. End of report.
Anything from Mrs. Rabel? Mr. Bullis.
Yeah, I just had one thing. I saw online that this do not walk posting had gotten some traction. I got some inquiries about it. Was it applicable to, was it applicable to everyone to do not knock?
Do not knock.
Did I say walk? I'm sorry. I got a question about who was that applicable towards specifically?
Peddlers and solicitors. So there's exemptions for nonprofits and like kids and stuff that are going around and doing things for like Girl Scouts and things like that.
Okay. Thank you.
However, if somebody posts a no soliciting, then everybody should be paying attention to that. So posting it on your door or on your fence or gateway into your front door area is the best way to try to keep that at bay.
Okay. Yeah, the popular one that I had gotten a question on was around pest control and home pest control.
And they are supposed to be registered. They have to have registration through the zoning department, and that's where you can also register with a do not knock. And if they do knock, then you can register a complaint with the zoning department, or if someone comes and does not present a registration or permit, you can ask to see that, and you can ask them if they have it. And you can make a call to the police department, non-emergency line, 330-633-2181, if you want to report that.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Bozek.
Director Raber, is all that information posted on our website somewhere? Kind of a quick little rundown of,
It's there.
okay.
Yeah, but I think that push out was just a way to kind of remind everybody again, since the weather is getting nicer, so
Great.
it's on the zoning page.
It's on the zoning page. Got it. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, let's move to item 10, reports of our standing committees. We'll start with planning and zoning. Mrs. Kilway.
Thank you very much. I'd like to open planning and zoning. We do have a couple ordinance today. Ordinance 2023-51 with Exhibit A, amended Exhibit A, and tracked Exhibit A have been provided to us. We do have a public hearing on May the 25th at 7:01 p.m. It is amending and supplementing Section 1108, Signs and Appendix A3, sign-specific definitions of Tallmadge codified ordinances. Planning and zoning did approve this to us, so we will be needing to amend it. But I think first we're going to have Mrs. Hussing do her presentation.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Let me at least preface this first. Planning and zoning did meet on this, spent a lot of time on that. The chairman's actually in the audience and a member of the commission, so thank you, Chairman and members, how well they did vetting this thing out, looking at it. The PowerPoint that Helene put together is a phenomenal job, and so we asked her to present that to you guys tonight. I know it's a little lengthy, but she did forward it out to everyone, so hopefully everyone viewed it, and she's just sort of going to cursory review it, but she's here to answer the questions. The zoning code was adopted about a year and a half ago, and these are some tweaks that we've tweaked from that time that we adopted it. So with that, I'll turn it over to back to the chair.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, and I just want to state also that when we did do adopt the zoning code, we knew at that time that there'd be some tweaks. And so this is us coming back and doing some tweaks. And because I do go to all the as many of the planning and zoning meetings as I can, I already saw the presentation, but also there's some things that have come to our, come in front of us. Certain things just are not applicable, and there's some changes that need to be made. So thank you very much for the changes that have been made, and go right ahead and go into your presentation. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for letting me present to you. Could skip the first page because you all said what I wanted to say. I'm sorry. But so there was the slide number 1. So, but you did receive the tracked version and the clean version back in March. So I'm sure you've had an opportunity to look at that, and then hopefully this presentation deck also helps you guide your decision based on the recommendation by the Planning and Zoning Commission. So these were the sources that we used, and then we held a stakeholder meeting on September 7th of last year. Stakeholders from various industries, as well as the committee chair for Planning and Zoning from City Council, members from the Architectural Review Board, as well as the Planning and Zoning Commission. 2 topics that we mostly covered, they were hot topics, the electronic message center signs, basically also because they were presented before Planning and Zoning multiple times. And the other one is the number of signs that are out there at each business. Just the next sign. So I'd like to just go through each section of the zoning code. Each section has a different title. The first 2 have not been changed, but then the third one, section 110803, there is a small change to add an electronic message center that's portable on a trailer. We already have the marquee sign that's on a portable trailer. That's been in our code for the last probably decade or 2, and since they're so similar in genre, it's a good idea to add that to it. The next 2 sections have some changes as well. I wanted to bring this up because you'll see this in your tracked version a couple times. In the model code that we based our sign code on, they use the word zone a lot. Changed here in this respect, we don't really reference zones, we reference districts. And in this instance, the intent is on the residential or non-residential use, no matter what district it's located in. And again, you'll see a lot of that in the tracked version. In the presentation deck, whenever the font is blue, it's really not a substantive change. It's taken from another section. This was taken out of the landscape section, and it's just to clarify exactly what the 25-foot site triangle is and how to measure it. The next section is bonuses for corner lots and side rear entrances. Subsection 8 does that for wall signs, and subsection 9 does that for freestanding signs, and it's adapted from our former code before the zoning code update. The next section in the general regulation has to do with to ensure that the compatibility of the signs and how they're installed match the intent of the sign code. 1, preserving the character of the city, and 2, protecting and encouraging a more attractive economic, business, and overall physical appearance of the community. Then there were some errors that need to be corrected. One of these was the graphic to calculate the sign area, so that's corrected. Third one is about illumination. Again, the blue font shows non-substantive changes that were rewritten from what was already in the code. What the major change is that how we measure illuminance. In the current sign code, we measure it with using a measurement called nits. We're going to change it to foot candles. Basically, in the lighting industry, foot candles measure illuminance from variant light. So think about the brightness on a cloudy day versus on a sunny day, or brightness that's affected by another property's lights that are shining on. So it's an easy or better measurement, while measuring in nits is really nighttime or daytime brightness. The other good reason that we're changing it is because the measuring tool that we use is cheaper and it's easier to use. So that's where we're going. It is 0.3 foot candles that we use, and that's a industry level that's been proven. Also in the illumination section, we removed the electronic message center sign language, so that's now in another section in the sign code. Also allowing externally illuminated signs on residential properties, as long as they're externally illuminated. And then the next couple slides show the different wall or sign types. So the first one is wall signs. We had a limit that the wall sign had to have a clearance of at least 8 feet. Didn't really make sense. You see the picture of the police station there. So we've made that change. And then this table is regarding projecting signs. Those are those small signs that come out from the building. So we made some changes there as well that are in the table as well as in the text, that there's some separation between signs of at least 25 feet, and that just how they're attached to the building as the distance. Window signs, some are illuminated, and if they're illuminated, they should comply with the section that regulates the sign illumination. One of the big things that was the freestanding signs, there was an error in the freestanding signs in respect to, it wasn't really clear as to what was a pole sign, what was a monument sign. So here we have clarified that by saying freestanding signs are pole signs and monument signs. Yes, we allow pole signs. We do have regulations, though, that limit the height and the clearance height, so that brings that pole sign down and that eliminates that tall pole sign that we all think pole signs are. The next slide, so yeah, setback and location regulations have just been adjusted. Subsection 3 and 4 were in the model ordinance and were not included in our code that was presented in November of '21. During our stakeholder meeting, there was a lot of talk about complex signs too, so we re-entered the shared freestanding sign and added the regulations that they are supposed to be of a monument sign style. The measurements and regulations are in the little table there. And if you're using a shared freestanding sign and you want to have another monument sign on the same property, there has to be at least 150 feet distance between the two. And then this just clarifies the different freestanding signs, and the little subsection there does say that if the sign area, if a sign is incorporated into a monument sign, that there should at least be a 2-inch decorative trim around the sign area. We also introduced wall signs on entry fences or walls, and you'll see some samples there in the drawings, because that should eliminate some of the sign clutter. If somebody decides to utilize this type of sign, they cannot have another monument sign on the property. And then here's where we entered we included the electronic message center signs, and we did make some changes based on some research as well as the overwhelming response at the stakeholder meeting. So the area, which was always limited to 50% or 30%, we made the change that they can use the maximum allowable size that's allowed sign area-wise. So that's one major change. And the next one is that we changed it from requiring that there's no transition, that we would prefer that there is a fade in and fade out transition. There's no evidence, no proven data that the fade in and fade out would be a safety concern. So that's that one. And then the last two, illumination and prohibited sign, is just really a repetition from the previous slides that I mentioned, but we included it in the electronic message center sign. This next one is limited duration signs and temporary signs. So we're proposing to merge those two together as temporary signs. The limited duration signs and temporary signs, both are temporary signs. If a sign doesn't meet these definitions, they will be regulated as permanent signs and will require application for zoning approval. So these are some examples of limited duration signs. Basically, they're real estate signs or construction. We don't, in our practice, we don't really regulate them except for size or location. So it makes sense to merge that into temporary signs. And then this slide just shows some temporary signs, so you get that idea. So how do we enforce temporary signs? We don't require a permit for them, so we enforce them by the location, the number, the size, and the maintenance. The maintenance of the sign determines the duration. So if a sign is not up to par anymore, then it needs to be removed. Minor changes were proposed for the next three sections as well. They're really just cleanups or items that have been with the previous comments made on the previous sections. They're just culminated in these tables. And I did notice that I need to do a correction on the word there. I had wall on entry fences and walls. It should be signs on entry fences and walls. The signs in non-residential districts is also just a reorganization of what was proposed. And then, oddly enough, the design control overlay district regulations were not listed in this table, so they have been added appropriately. And then the next four sections, there are no changes. And the next three sections have been renumbered because we added 110817, which is the modifications. There are always occasions where applicants may want to request some relief from the code. This clarifies the authority reviewing variances or modifications for signs, that being the Planning and Zoning Commission. It also spells out the review standards used to make a determination on modification requests. And then, of course, in the definitions, we had to adjust the definitions, so those have all been adjusted as in your tracked version shows. So the motion was made then. The city is confident, city administration is confident that the proposed amendment results in a fair sign code that continues to meet the purposes and intent of the sign code and is business friendly. The Planning and Zoning Commission obviously approved it, according to this slide, or the next slide, by 4-0. And of course, you have a public hearing at the next meeting. In the meantime, if you have any questions, I highly encourage you to contact myself or Megan. And for questions, you can call me, email me, make an appointment, and I'd be happy to go and try to explain it further. And that really ends it, so thank you very much.
Mrs. Kilroy, could I ask Mrs. Hussing a question?
Yes, go ahead.
So, Ms. Hussing, I was asked a couple weeks ago what our process is for the banner signs that go on telephone poles. Or that's probably not the right term. That a lot of communities put up. They want to honor their senior athletes. They want to put pictures of veterans around Memorial's Day. Do we address that, the process, that process in our sign code?
For signs on streetlights?
Or
is that-
banners, like people want to put banners.
We allow banner signs. Well, we will allow banner signs once the West Avenue overlay has been mapped out. That is the only area where we would permit that. Or if it's on a property where it's don't really see it from the road, like if it's an industrial park or
And the
something.
circle, the mayor controls the circle,
But
correct?
everything else is the city, that's up to,
When we put the flags up, those types of things, the flags, the.
Like for Circle Fest, we'll
Circle
allow the,
Fest, yeah. So the question specifically started as what is the process for that? And I knew that the mayor's office controlled the circle. But then they asked about, well, what about other communities like Mogador? Mogador always puts their senior athletes up, and Stowe has their war veterans. And I said, well, I really don't know.
Councilman, what that is you got to go to First Energy or those who own the utility poles, and you got to get their permission. And it's not as easy as it used to be. So I think Mogador got in when it was easier to do that. Because we've been asked that many times, and we don't own the poles. I mean, we own the poles on Community Drive and the poles out here on North Avenue. Those are the poles we own.
So if someone wanted to do that, then it would be at the discretion of the owner of the pole and not the city?
Correct.
Thank you.
if I can just interject one more thing, though. If it's they're called snipe signs, so they're signs that are attached to utility poles, those are prohibited. They're listed in our prohibited sign list.
Okay.
So that's not permitted. So
Thank you.
again, they are not permitted, and it takes our guys a lot of work to get those removed.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
how many signs with some of these changes do you anticipate falling outside of compliance?
I could not give you a number or even but yeah, I think in the meeting with our stakeholders, a lot of these changes are in response to that. And I did fail to mention that I did provide them the changes, the same documents you received, except for this presentation deck. I did not. And I did invite them to the meetings, and they've had no questions. They did not come, so I'm going to assume that they're happy with the changes that we
And then
proposed.
number two, if a business does fall outside, how long will they have to remediate the situation?
So if it's a permanent sign, it's considered a non-conforming sign,
On day one?
yes. So, and then unless they change it, they can keep it,
So
So
they're
if
going
they
to be
wanna-
grandfathered in?
Grandfathered.
yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Mr. Bozak?
Thank you. And thank you for the work you guys have done on this. The presentation was much better than me trying to go through that, reading it. I know, speaking with some others here on council, we were all a little overwhelmed at the amount of information and the changes. So thank you for presenting those. Kind of going back to what Mr. Sisak had asked, if the testing of the illumination levels of the electronic message boards, does that include the billboard signs? If there are any electronic ones within Tallmadge, I think there's one maybe at the corner of Britain and Tallmadge Avenue, but I don't know if that's necessarily Tallmadge.
That one's an act.
So,
It would be any illuminance. So
Okay.
any lit sign would be measured that way.
so if a church puts one out, the rec center has their sign, our message board at the circle, the schools have electronic signs. So those particular signs, did we run an illumination level test on those?
We did not, but they are all programmed a certain way, and they can program them to be at that level.
Okay,
So, again, we have not measured those.
gotcha.
If-
Okay, and then I guess that you've already answered the question, but my question was basically, do these changes, are they going to affect the current businesses? And I understand they're going to be kind of grandfathered in certain businesses, but for example, I believe, just had some signage changes to East Avenue's Plaza. I know they made some changes to the base of the sign, but for example, that sign structure, I think exceeds your 15 feet requirement. So obviously that's grandfathered in.
All they did was repair it, repair the base. So that's why it's grandfathered in.
Okay.
So, yes.
So anytime, just anytime that any zoning change happens, that's the way it works. So anybody that has the existing zoning, when you make a change moving forward, they don't have to go out and make all the changes. It's just if they make, there's a section in our code called non-conforming, and once they meet the threshold to change it enough, like they're modifying it enough as opposed to a simple repair, then they would have to bring it into compliance, or if they're installing a new one, they have to bring it into compliance. If there's damage to, I think it's greater than 60% of it, and they're doing something new with it, then they would have to bring it into compliance. But otherwise, that's how it works, and that's how it works for any other zoning change as well.
Mrs. Kilway?
Yes,
Could I ask one more question?
Sure, go ahead.
Mrs. Hussing, did, in the stakeholders, did any of our sign vendors have an opportunity or get invited to look at this and review it, like Ellett Sign, or a company that does a lot of work in our city?
So at the time that we had the stakeholder meeting, we had a couple of applications in our office. So we didn't feel that it was right to invite them specifically, but they did provide me with information that was on the list of sources.
Thanks.
Mr. Bolish, you said you had a question?
Yes, thank you. Just a couple follow-up questions. Did this initially originate like from a specific incident, or was this more of a general assessment of the code and updating it internally, or was it prompted by an incident or several or complaints? What prompted the changes?
So we are reviewing each section all the time because we practice it every day that we're in our office. So that is one factor that we reviewed it. Then we had a couple of cases before planning and zoning, and discussions were had about specifically the electronic message center signs, and then also the size of the signs. So between that and then finding a couple of errors that were missed during the final edition of the zoning code update in 21, we just felt that it was good to update it, especially in the spirit of trying to help businesses out. We want to be fair to businesses and give them, a fair code to follow, and I think we've accomplished that.
Okay, thank you. And then, just as a clarification, regarding the existing businesses, no existing business in the city of Tallmadge will be negatively impacted by the code change. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, because of the grandfather
Unless
state.
they have a sign that has never been conforming, which we are still attempting to get that all rectified.
Which could be like one of those pole signs.
So the pole signs that you probably are referring to, maybe on West Avenue, that one is grandfathered in. They have a non-conforming certificate. So, but if there's, for example, somebody put up a sign that they never got a permit for, and that does not meet the old code nor the new code, that would be considered illegal.
Then the very last question I had, would anything in the proposal make it more difficult to attract new businesses based on the expertise of planning and zoning?
I think it actually will benefit the businesses, in my opinion.
Yes, during the stakeholder meeting, that was one thing that was discussed quite a bit by the stakeholders, was trying to make the sign code a little bit more business-friendly, because that's their livelihood, that's their advertising. And with these changes, you've met those requests with them, and I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Mrs. Kilway?
Yes.
I do not believe, I may be mistaken, but I do not believe that we did read this in.
I did
the
read
ordinance.
it in.
Did you read it?
Yes, I did.
Okay, I apologize. Thank you.
You're welcome. As my computer died on me.
And we do have a public hearing at the end of the
Right.
month, but
Yes. Okay, is there anything else Any other discussion, anything from council? Any questions on this ordinance? Administration, is there anything that you'd like to add?
I'd just like to thank the commission, Plan Zoning Commission, who worked very hard. Mrs. Hussing and her team, Law Director Raber. You know, we knew when we adopted the code that it would have to be tweaked throughout and this is the section that really needed some attention. And hats off to the team that put it together. So I know some of the members are here, so thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. And I appreciate the zoning department and the commission constantly reviewing the sections and making sure that everything, matches up and, is a good working document. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Thank you, zoning commission, for all that you've done too. I think this is a great addition. So at this time, if there's no other
Chair?
further discussion. Oh, yes.
If
Mr.
I
Ward.
could just echo what the mayor said, I mean, it's refreshing to come in every day and work with Elaine and her staff. I mean,
Yes.
they do a professional job, and they really put everything at ease when people come in to do zoning, and it's not an easy thing.
Right.
So I just want to say what a great job she does.
Thank you. Echo that as well. Right. Anything else on this ordinance at this time? I know we need a motion to amend it to accept Planning and Zoning's recommendation of approval.
Move to amend.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to amend. Any further discussion? Okay, Susan, please call the roll.
Mary Gutman.
Yes.
Carol Kilway.
Yes.
Dennis Lowry.
Yes.
Craig Ciesick.
Yes.
Becky Allman.
Yes.
Jonathan Bullis.
Yes.
Adam Bozak.
Yes.
Okay, so ordinance 2023-51 has been amended by a vote of 7-0. It then goes back to second reading again, and we will have our public hearing in 2 weeks. Our next ordinance is ordinance 2023-52. It is imposing a 6-month moratorium on acceptance of any zoning application for a car wash and providing for immediate enactment. We do have a public hearing on this on May the 25th as well at 7:05 PM. Is there any discussion on this at this time?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Kind of just thinking about this, what kind of brought this particular ordinance to light?
And I brought this to the administration. There's just been several car washes that have come into the city, and it's a great addition to our city, but we need to make sure that they're in the right positions within the city, because right now, they are conditionally approved for C3, they're permitted in C4, and they're accessory only use in C5. And I just think that if we go ahead and review, put a hold on them at this point in time and review where they're allowed to, we can make sure that they're in the right parts of our city where we would want them, and just go from there. So that's why I'm just asking for a 6-month moratorium so we can look into this a little bit more. These car washes are, several millions of dollars in order to put them in, and for them to put one in a wrong spot within the city, it could be detrimental not only to them, but to other businesses as well. So it's just as a precaution.
And thank you. So with that in mind, though, if they're only permitted in C3, C4,
And C5.
and C5 as an accessory, which would be like
Like,
a gas
like a
station,
gas station that would
or
have
a
one.
car dealership with a car wash, something
Right,
like that.
right.
So the city, though, doesn't have the opportunity to necessarily outright change that particular, like if it's a C2,
And someone wants to put a car wash
And
there,
it-
it's not permitted.
it's not permitted,
Right.
but what we're saying, though, is if it's a C3, C4, they could submit, and we could decide, or planning zoning could decide, yes, this meets the requirements, or no, it does not. So I guess, are we trying to make changes to C3, C4, and the requirements that a car wash could or could not go into those zones? Or are we saying car washes we want to put a pause on all of them because we only want to require them to be in XYZ zones.
So we're putting a pause on it so we can do that analysis and determine exactly what you're saying,
Okay.
okay? Okay, anything else?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I'd just like to say, I think that, especially now that we're working with Insight, it's timely to
Yes.
do that. So I just agree with that. Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, so this is, at second reading, we will have a public hearing on this, as I said, on May the 25th at 7:05. And if there's anything else to come in front of planning and zoning at this time? Hearing none, I'll close committee.
Thank you very much. Let's move to finance. Mr. Cesek.
Good evening, thank you. I call Finance Committee to order. We currently have third reading ordinance 2023-45, authorizing the Director of Public Service to advertise for bids and the mayor to enter into contract for the Lions Park Shelter Project and providing for immediate enactment. Can I get a motion on this, please?
Move to adopt.
Second?
So a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 2023-45 at third reading. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
We currently have a vendor in mind for this. Are we using it's going out for bid,
Has to go
correct?
out to bid,
Okay,
yeah.
so it's not being through our state purchasing or anything like that? Okay,
No.
thank you.
And this is one of the ARPA projects that was discussed and agreed upon, so.
Great. All right, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Carol Kilway.
Yes.
Dennis Lowry.
Yes.
Craig Ciesick.
Yes.
Becky Allman.
Yes.
Jonathan Bolus.
Yes.
Adam Bozick.
Yes.
Mary Gutman.
Yes.
Ordinance 2023-45 has been passed by a vote of 7-0.
Thank you.
First reading of ordinances and resolutions, we have ordinance 2023-53, authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract without competitive bidding through the state purchasing program, or is authorized by RC 125.04C with Motorola Solutions for the purchase of radio equipment, video equipment, software licenses, and related equipment, providing for immediate enactment.
Mr. Cesek?
Yes, ma'am.
Move to adopt ordinance 2023-53 at first reading as requested by Justin Delaney.
Second.
So a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 2023-53. I recall this is budgeted.
Yes.
And what is this specifically for?
This is a contract to upgrade with Motorola. We need to upgrade the police body cams and the dash cams, and this will get them all on the same system. We will be, this is actually end up being a 5-year contract, and it also is beneficial because we will be using cloud storage for the video footage. So this contract includes all of that also.
So, question, with the joint dispatch, the radio equipment will be compatible
Correct.
for
Correct.
5 years?
Yes.
Okay. Any more discussion, questions?
Well, Mr. Cesek?
Yes, sir.
Just to be clear, the reason for the first reading adoption is to hold our pricing. Reason for the request.
Thank you. All right, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Dennis Lowry.
Yes.
Craig Ciesick.
Yes.
Becky Allman.
Yes.
Jonathan Bolus.
Yes.
Adam Bozick.
Yes.
Mary Gutman.
Yes.
Carol Kilway.
Yes.
Ordinance 2023-53 has been adopted by a vote of 7-0.
Thank you.
Ordinance 2023-55 is authorizing the appropriation of funds for wireless access points and providing for immediate enactment. I don't believe this was requested, was it?
This is not necessary to be requested at first reading. You can give it a second reading.
Very good. Is there anything else to come before the Finance Committee this evening? Hearing none, close committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cisak. Let's move to personnel. Mr. Bolus.
Good evening. Call Personnel Committee to order. We are all present this evening. We have no ordinances or resolutions within Personnel Committee. Would anyone like to comment or speak in regard to Personnel Committee this evening by council or administration? All right, I close committee.
Thank you. Community issues, Mrs. Gutman.
Thank you, Mr. Lowry. I call community issues to order. We also have nothing before us this evening. Does anyone have anything for community issues?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr. Bozick?
I just wanted to recognize a few of us that were in attendance of the Bhutanese Annual Festival on, I believe it was 2 Saturdays ago.
29.
And absolute delight to be there and to be kind of recognized. They had I think that took longer than anything, is recognizing all their special guests and everything that they did. They're very gracious and just good people. And, you know, talking with Mrs. Gutman, Mrs. Kilway, about just how do we better integrate as a community, how do we find ways to be more inclusive, and I really look forward to kind of talking about those things in the future and how we can do that. Especially being in Ward 4, where I believe there's quite a few residents that live there. But just wanted to recognize that and, you know, say that as a member of this community for a long time, it's always great to see new faces, new people come into the community. And I think that's something that we've always been really good at, is being embracing everyone that's new and just, you know, welcoming them in. I know my son has a friend that's in his classroom that is new this year to Tallmadge, and it's been good, a great experience for him. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bozick, for bringing that up. Actually, I will echo that. It was really a special experience to be invited, and then to be honored as special guests when I thought it was just special that they wanted us there at their festival, and they were so excited that we were there. And that was really nice. But I think we made some good connections, you know, and met some people, and I think that'll be very helpful moving forward too. So it was really great, and it was actually really learned a lot about the culture too, and had things I didn't know. So it was good.
Yeah, it was a great event. I really enjoyed it. And we do, as you all know, a lot of these people have come from the North Hill area, and so the Akron councilman, Phil Lombardo, he was very, very much, you know, in tune with their culture and helping them get the services that they needed. And so we have a great asset with him going forward if we need it. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay. Is there anything further for the committee? Okay.
Madam Chair, I have one other item to bring up. I know we've talked about it, you've brought it up, I think, before, but we've talked about the Halloween street dance and trick or treat night as being possibilities of returning and or changing. And I just wanted to know if we've, either within the Community Issues Committee or within administration, if we've had any discussion further about that.
I have had some discussion and kind of have a pending meeting. We've had to set a date and time with Mr. Rohr and the mayor to decide how to move forward with that based on the budget already being set and plans kind of having been set in motion even prior. But I'll make sure that we wrap you into that meeting so that we can do that. Okay? Okay. Well, if there's nothing further, then we'll close committee.
Thank you, Mrs. Gutman. Move to safety. Mr. Bozick.
Thank you. I open the Safety Committee. We currently have no legislation in front of us. I will turn it over to anyone else on council or the administration for questions, concerns. Nope, hearing none. The only question I really had was in relation to the call center. I know we've had a rough date thrown out there, I think, for when we were doing a transfer. Has that changed at all?
For the Joint Dispatch Center?
Yes.
The contractors are still continuing to work up there. The hopefully date of completion of the inside construction portion is in the middle of July to the end of July. Then they'll turn it over to the equipment people, bringing in all the desks, all the dispatch areas. The cell tower is being, they started the foundation of that as we speak, and that should be up in the next couple of weeks. By the end of the month, I would think, see a tower going up there.
Okay. And then, oh gosh. It'll come to me. Give me 1 second.
And we hope to start moving in some of the dispatchers for training by the end of the year.
All right, I have one other question, and it escaped me. It had to do with police, and I forget what it was. So,
When you think of it,
yeah, thank you. With
You
that,
get used to it as you.
yeah. So, hearing no other feedback, I will close committee.
Thank you very much. Public Service, Mrs. Allman.
I open the Public Service Committee. We have ordinance 2023-54, authorizing the mayor to enter into a memorandum of understanding between the County of Summit and City of Tallmadge for installation of conduit along the Summit Area Regional Council of Governments fiber route, appropriating the necessary sums and providing for immediate enactment.
no. Madam Chair?
Yes.
Just to give you a heads up what this is. So part of the joint dispatch broadband connection and the safety for all of Summit County, the first loop will be from Dan Street down Evans Avenue, Thomas Road, Commerce, Industrial, West Avenue, Nottingham, Overdale, Kent Drive to the Joint Dispatch Center. So part of that route, I have legislation that I'm looking at to put in a secondary line strictly for the city of Tallmadge that will have our own conduit from Thomas Road all the way up there, going right past 210 Osceola, Fire Station 1, which then ties into everything coming this way, and then all the way up past all the parks on that route that I just said. That would be a $92,000 installation to have that empty pipe put in at that location, which also then will be going by the Osceola, that industrial park down there, that we are investigating through CDBG, that we could be awarded a grant to install fiber into all the businesses down at that industrial park down there. As part of that grant would be no cost to the city, but our cost is having our conduit in. So I'm sponsoring the legislation to eventually put that $92,000 conduit in from Thomas Road all the way up through. We have a conduit currently going from City Hall, behind Our Lady of Victory, up to Stadium Drive, over to the fire station, and then we would connect into that new pipe to get all those locations. So for that price, it would be very hard for us to be able to run conduit with pull boxes that entire route. So that's part of all of this.
Thank you.
I know it's a lot to give you, but we're not asking for first reading.
You're not, okay.
Madam Chair, I have a question for the administration. So when they put in the conduit currently, there will be fiber pulled to the dispatch center, correct?
So the county fiber ring, going from Dan Street to the Joint Dispatch Center is one loop. They will then continue the Summit County loop all the way through Summit County to create a fiber loop for the entire county. We have the ability, and so does other communities, to tie into that for our own municipal purpose.
So so the additional conduit, though, is what I'm saying is, let's just, for layman's terms here, you got two pieces of conduit.
Yes.
One has the one going to dispatch.
It's owned by the county.
It's owned by the county.
The
The other
second-
one would be owned by us
Correct.
with nothing in it currently.
For our
as it-
purpose to be
As
able
it
to.
stands. So when they pull the fiber for the dispatch center, would it be cheaper for the city to have them do it now to fill our conduit?
We are pricing that out to pull the conduit specifically from Fire Station 1 all the way up to Overdale, to the Overdale field, the Kent Drive fields and that, up to the traffic light at Howell Road, to be able to connect it. We're looking at that.
Right,
How
okay.
much money would it cost us to be able to fill that conduit with our own fiber?
Right, okay, and that was my main question.
And that will
was-
all be coming part of the CDBG grant
Right.
for the industrial park. If we, so the CDBG grant, if we get it, or if it's feasible to run the conduit within that industrial park, we'll have fiber ran by Fairlawn Gig, Tallmadge Gig. We're not sure yet. We're investigating all that.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mrs. Ullman?
Yes.
In this ordinance, it states that there's a memorandum of understanding that is attached.
It's not attached yet.
It's not attached yet.
We don't have it yet.
Okay, thank
As soon
you.
as we get it, it will
Okay,
be
thank you.
attached.
Is there any other discussion on ordinance 54?
Yeah, Mrs. Almond,
Yes.
I just have a, maybe if you could clarify, for me as well, but for anyone watching who doesn't quite understand fiber, what this would mean just for our residents down the road, long-term. Does that mean that they can get fiber someday? Timeline-wise, what does this imply for them?
Fiber is just a conduit to put information across it. If we are tied, just like City Hall is connected fiber between all our city buildings. It's just a higher speed, be able to transfer information across that.
And so is this like a service that we would offer someday? Is that the goal?
That is still yet to be determined.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, if I can just clarify, I think for the short term, this conduit is literally just that. It's an opportunity to put in infrastructure at a much lower cost than it would if we wait and do it on our own, with the idea that at some point, and we are exploring whether that's sooner or later, to put the actual fiber in it, but that would be an additional cost. And that could be for the purpose of just serving the municipal needs, or then at some point, long in the future, potentially other services to the citizens. But the overall cost for that right now in the short term is cost prohibitive to do that right now. So the idea with the conduit for this particular thing is to be able to do it, put in the infrastructure in the short term at a cost that hopefully at some point it comes to fruition that we're able to really utilize that in a way that's beneficial to at least the municipal buildings.
Thank you. I think it's good for our residents to know that it is something that at least we're thinking about, looking at, considering, planning for as much as we can. Yeah.
Do you want to say
Madam
something?
Chair, yeah, I have one further question. And I know Mr. Rohr likes to do his maps. So is it possible to get a map of the outline of the path that he had outlined before the county conduit, and then what the city conduit, where those would be located, just as a visual for us?
Yes.
Thank
I
you.
got it. I can't find it.
Is there
I plan on
anything
showing it to you
else?
tonight, but I just can't.
For the Public
Council.
Service Committee?
Oh,
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. And the conduits will run side by side, so.
Is there anything else for the Public Service Committee? I close committee.
Thank you, Mrs. Allman. Item 11, reports to special committees, the council operations, I have nothing. Do you, Mr. Bowles?
Nothing specific other than just to please read over ordinance 2023-55 again. I think it would be beneficial to be passed at second reading next meeting, just with those wireless access points and the proposed timeline of some of the backlog of the hardware and whatnot. So just give that a second reading. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Under announcements, I have two. One is that this is National Nurses Week, and I'd like to recognize Mrs. Gutman and all our other nurses in our community for what they do, and anybody working in the healthcare field, like Craig. National Hospital Week, too. I missed that one. It's also, my second one is National Economic Development Week. And there was a post today by Brad Earhart with the Portage Development Board that we know. And I thought it was interesting based on what, Mr. Joyce, what you and Katie said your mission is. And that is that 80% of net new jobs and capital investment in any economy are generated by existing companies. So everyone focuses on new business, and those are great when you get lucky and you hit a home run. But it's really important to focus on those existing businesses. And when you are built out as much as we are in our commercial zones, other than the JED, we need to focus on our existing businesses. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Anything else,
Mr.
Mr.
Chair?
Council?
Yeah, just one thing, and I apologize to council, I did not bring it up under my report. Some letters went out from Ohio Edison about our electrical aggregation. It's called a refresh letter, so anyone in Tallmadge who is currently not on the aggregation program did receive a letter, and so we're starting to get those phone calls. You may get a phone call. Why am I getting this letter saying, dear residents and small businesses, based on if they're not in the current aggregation program, they're being opt-in. And so if they want to be out of it, then they have to say, I do not want it. They have to react. During the opt-in, opt-out periods, people get upset because we're putting it into a program that they may not want. Well, they could opt out if they don't want, but by going to this program, it's 4.96 cents per kilowatt. And if you know what's going on with the First Energy, the new rate coming up starting next month will be the 11 to 12 cents per kilowatt. So our program is extremely good at this time, and so that's why they're being proactive, Energy Harbor, to send out these letters to get the folks that are not on the current program to get on the program. So we are receiving phone calls. You may get a phone call saying, why am I being forced to join the Tallmadge aggregation? Well, the worst scenario is you're going to save close to 6 cents per kilowatt. So thank you. But and I apologize I didn't bring this up earlier. It was stuck down in a corner here.
The last thing I have is remember that Sunday is Mother's Day.
It is?
Yes, it is.
I had one addition.
Mr. Bowles?
Next week, we won't be in session, but it's National Police Week as well. So thank you to all of our police.
Thank you. Okay, with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn?
Second.
Ms. Kilway, Mrs. Allman, Mrs. Burton,
Craig Ciesick,
Yes.
Becky Allman.
Yes.
Jonathan Bolus.
Yes.
Adam Bozick.
Yes.
Mary Gutman.
Yes.
Carol Kilway.
Yes.
Dennis Lowry.
Yes. Thank you. We are adjourned at 8:24. Good meeting.